Hello friends, today I want to talk to you guys about my hardcore Crusader build. Now, a couple of things. Until Season 15 I had never played hardcore in Seasons, and I've never done a Greater Rift on hardcore ever. And all I can say is that with this build you will be able to easily do Greater Rift 90s. No problems. I mean, face tanking the Rift Guard, you don't even have to think about it. Just make sure you have these skills and you have the right cooldown reduction and you'll be golden. So let's talk about the skills first. Using slash guard. The main reason we're using a primary skill is to open up the focus and restraint for 50% more damage. This is just a nice one. It gives a little extra defense. And yeah, that's it pretty much. Then Condemn Vacuum. This is where all of our damage is coming from. We'll see in a minute with the gear that our Condemn damage is going to be through the roof. And Vacuum is nice because it's going to also increase our damage, which I'll talk about in a minute because of our bracers. You don't want to use Steed Charge, actually. This is if you're just doing speed stuff. You would want to use Provoke, Too Scared to Run. This is great. It's a ton of extra defense for you because it reduces attack speed by a lot. And it gives you more wrath when you need it. Now, mind you, this is for pushing only. The defensive Iron Skin, Steel Skin, just more defensive skills. Good stuff. I like using the Law of Justice with Decaying Strength. It's a bunch of defense. Now, there are other options. You could use Valor and Unstoppable Force, because then you have pretty much unlimited wrath. If you're really strong, you could do Laws of Hope, Wings of Angel, and then just speed through stuff. But of course, if this is for pushing, if you're trying to push through greater rifts, you want more defensive strength, unless you're, really skilled, and you're going to be strong enough anyways. Then Akkhan's Champion Prophet, you have to have this. It's necessary on pretty much every single Crusader build. It's really great in hardcore because it gives you an extra cheat death. And mind you, it's on the same cooldown as this. So like every 25 seconds or whatever, you end up with a new, or no, every 20 seconds you end up with a new cheat death. It's so broken. It's actually unfair for hardcore. For passives, using Heavenly Strength because we're using a two-handed weapon. I like long Arm of the Law because it increases the duration of the law, and that's quite nice because it overlaps with Iron Skin. So you can use Law of Justice. When this runs out, you can use Iron Skin, and by the time Iron Skin runs out, you can use your Law of Justice again. It's really nice. Other options I've seen people use, and then I've tried myself, is Holy Cause. It's pretty good. Just more damage, a little bit of life. And I'm sure there's something else that you could try too, but I like those ones. These are the four that I like. Oh, Indestructible, obviously. That's a no-brainer. And Finery gets a really big damage increase. It's good. So those are the skills. Let's talk about Zedgear. I'm going to go over to the cube first so we can look at that stuff too. So, actually, let's go over the cube real quick. The Furnace. So you can either use the Furnace in the cube or a Blade of Prophecy. Now, I got this Blade of Prophecy. It's pretty good. I'm actually missing 50% damage on the Condemn. Okay. Thank you for chatting. The 50% damage on the golden text there, the two condemned enemies also trigger Condemn's explosion, and damage of Condemn is increased by 750%. It couldn't go up to 800, which is why typically you'll see people cubing Blade of Prophecy instead of Furnace. But this one's good enough. I mean, the 50% damage is multiplicative, so it's actually an enormous amount of extra damage that I'm missing. But whatever, this blade is great. I'm not going to complain about it. It's just near perfect rolls, so I'm very happy with it. But anyways, so either cubing Furnace or Blade of Prophecy. Then you need Leoric's Crown because you need so much cooldown reduction with Crusaders. If I can't stress anything more, it's that you absolutely 100% have to have 56% cooldown reduction. You need it if you're trying to push greater risks because you always need to have Akkhan's Champion up. And this helps with that. And then Unity, I just like it. Makes you more tanky. Can't go wrong there. Obviously need it on your follower. And then so for the rest of the gear, you're going to be using the 6 pieces of Akkhan. And since there's 7 pieces in the set because of the amulet, this is great because we're allowed to use the boots. More on that in a moment. Anyways, so for the helm, you're looking at Strength, Vitality, Crit Chance. Can't go wrong. Shoulders, Strength, Vitality, all resist. You can get cooldown reduction here if you need it, and Condemn damage. That's great. So maybe instead of the resists, I could have cooldown reduction if I didn't have cooldown reduction on like this amulet. Because this amulet's awful. Yuck. It's such a huge wasted damage potential. 5% cooldown on your amulet. It's massive amount of damage that I'm missing because I could have critical hit chance, critical hit damage, 20% holy damage, Wow. Armor, Strength, Vitality, Condemn damage. That's what I'm liking. For gloves, I went for, a nice trifecta here. Now, In a perfect world, you might even put area damage on here instead of the strength, but whatever. And again, that cooldown roll is really low. It's only at 5%. Bracers. Now you have two options. Strong arm bracers will increase your damage dramatically because things hit by knockbacks gets 27% increased damage, and vacuum sucks everything in, so it's effectively the knockback. Or you can use nemesis bracers. I like nemesis bracers when I'm doing low level stuff just because it makes rust faster. But if I'm pushing, nah, because sometimes you'll spawn something and you don't really want you, and they just start attacking like those big fire guys with wings. No, thank you. For belt, string of ears. The main reason is just from the reduced damage from melee attacks. And then just defensive stats, whatever you can get is good. Rings, like I said, focus and restraint. Ideally, you get cooldown reduction, critical hit damage, critical hit chance, but that's really hard to get. So something like this is good. And on this one, oh, actually, yeah, I do have a decent restraint. I forgot I got another one. That's cool. Then the pants, strength, vitality, all resists. Now the boots, the illusory boots, these are amazing because you can move through enemies. So basically, you don't want to make it so when you move around, you want to have a button. Like I use spacebar. So spacebar moves my character to wherever my mouse is pointing. Awesome. It's the best thing. Thank you, scoundrel. It's the best thing ever, and especially with vacuum because you're sucking all these enemies on top of you, and if you can't move through them, you're going to be stuck there. That's no good. So illusory boots, fantastic. The reason I bring this up is that, let's say you found an ancient Leoric's crown that's just great. So wear the crown and cube the boots, and then wear the set boots instead. No big deal. So I was saying the Blade of Prophecy. These are just great rolls. Damage percent, strength, cooldown reduction. Wow. Super happy about that. The shield is awful. You do not want to sock it on your shield, but it's all I had. Also, the damage is pretty good, though, 788. Like, I had a shield with better rolls, but it was 650, so I was going to be missing, like, 130% more multiplicative damage. That's Nick the Goot. Nick the Goot. So anyways, ideally, you could be looking at something like strength, cooldown reduction, crit chance. What else can you get? I don't even know. We can double check, but just the shields, as long as you have something decent, you'll be good. We'll just go check real quick to see what other possible options you could roll on the shield. Can you get Condemn? Yeah, Condemn damage would be okay. Basically, you just want to make sure. So until you have a ton of Paragon, it's important to make sure that you have a decent amount of life so you don't get one shot by stuff, obviously. So having Vitality on gear early on is not a big deal. And then, so for gems, obviously an emerald in your weapon, diamonds and everything else. And then this is kind of where my build differs from some people's, is obviously Esoteric Alteration, that's not different at all. Bane of the Trap, not different from anybody's build ever. But then the Molten Wildebeest Gizzard, this thing makes you so ridiculously tanky. I love it so much. You will see, like, so I did a GR91. Actually, it's probably not even on the leaderboard. I mean, it's on the leaderboards, but it's probably, yeah, it was rank 9 before. And so when I did this one, I could just face tank the boss. Like, I was just standing there. There was no big deal. And it did take a while, though. Like, it took 14 minutes to do the Rift, but it took like 6 of those minutes just killing the Rift Guardian. It's boring. But without the extra damage increase from Bane of the Stricken, that's kind of what you're left with. So yeah, I love that gem. I cannot say how easy it has made my life, that gem. Whew. And like I was saying about the 56% cooldown, and the reason why, again, is because you have to have Akkhan's champion up. And you'll notice that the timer, it will time out with just a little bit enough left to spare where you can press the button again before it goes away. And I have almost died because I wasn't paying attention to that. And I procced my actual indestructible skill. But see, look at, and it never actually went away. So 56 is the sweet spot. If you're a little over, it gives you a little more leeway, but it's not necessary. As for Paragon, again, I only have 675 Paragon, able to do 90, no problem at all. My general consensus was that I got movement speed. I was getting Wrath because I didn't like running out of Wrath, and sometimes Provoke wasn't quite enough. And then I was just dumping things into Strength because I had enough Vitality from other things. Offensive, cooldown reduction, number 1. Crit chance, crit damage, crit chance, depending. And then attack speed, resist all, life, armor, then life regen. To be honest, life regen with the legendary gem might be more useful, but I think 25% life and 25% armor are too good to pass up. Utility, resource cost reduction, area damage, life per hit, then gold find. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to talk about the follower and the items I'm using. Obviously the invincibility favor thingy, the relic. Thunder Fury is great because it reduces enemies' attack speed, which gives you effectively damage reduction. Awesome. I like using Overwhelming Desire with this build because the Ass of Johann pulls things away from you, which is sort of annoying since you want them on top of you. And this makes them, you sometimes get to do more damage to stuff. Oculus Ring is ridiculous because it gives a multiplicative damage increase when you're standing in the circle. Unity, because I'm using Unity. And Freeze of Deflection is nice because if it blocks an attack, it freezes them for a second. Not a big deal, but can be fun. So yeah, that's the build. And I cannot stress enough how fun it is to play. You are immortal, even on GR90s. For the video that I'm going to show you, it's only a GR80, I think, because it's just easy. But maybe I'll do a 90. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm recording this now, and then I'm going to do the Rift again. So who knows? All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I hope you enjoy the build and have fun with Season 15. Talk to you later.